And we're good to go. It's all about great sporting action this Wednesday morning as we step into the locker room on the Smooth Breakfast right here on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life, love sports as well. 16 minutes past 8 a.m. And we're smack dab in the middle of the working week. How the time has flown like this, I don't know. But hey, we're thankful to be here to talk great sports once again. Welcome along to a great ride this morning. You know that in the locker room, it's not only Ayo here. Nope, nope, never, ever, ever, because it's never complete without having the one and only Tega Supreme join me on the show. Good morning to you, Tega. Great to have you on a Wednesday morning.
Good morning. It's so great to be here. Where do I start from? Do we start from the musician jinx? Because all these musicians need to keep their pulse of football. All right? All right? Those guys were doing well until a musician stepped in. I'm not mentioning any names. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the musician jinx. Also, oh my goodness, in the NBA, madness everywhere. Shocking results. We'll touch on every single one of them, including the face of the NBA player that did not show up on the night. So we'll touch on all of that. We'll also talk about Arsenal. Now the first team said they were going to come back in Italy and it didn't work. So is there going to be a comeback in France? That may happen tonight or it may not. Be that as it may, we'll touch a little bit on that too. We'll talk about Arsene Wenger. Every 2 market days, it's always
Hmm,
coming up with something controversial. But
hmm.
is it any different
Let me not talk
from
yet. Let me not. Let me not
is it
talk.
any different from the
Hmm.
Arsene Wenger we all know? Eh, people that are surprised. If you know Arsene Wenger, you know Arsene Wenger. He's the kind of guy that says this sort of things. All right. So we'll touch on what he said, why he said it, how he said it, and if you agree with it. And on that note, Ayokunmi will tell us how we can be a part of the locker room this morning because I need everybody's input. I need phone calls. In fact, I don't even want to see messages alone. I want to see phone calls. I want to hear phone calls too. So Ayokumi, could you please tell us how we can be a part of the locker room this morning?
All right, you can join us on the locker room this morning by sending your messages, giving us a call, and joining us on YouTube as well. Now, the WhatsApp number is 0809 0809 That's the WhatsApp number. Send your messages there. The studio line is 0201 4489 981. And you can keep up with us on YouTube as well. Plant your seats at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. So that is the YouTube channel where you can join us. Uche Nawukwe is already in the front row seated. Uche, great to have you as always. And yeah, let's look forward to an amazing show starting our journey, Tega, in the NBA. Yes, indeed. Where the Boston Celtics suffered a shock defeat against the New York Knicks, while the OKC, that's the Oklahoma City Thunder, were beaten by the Denver Nuggets in the first games of their conference playoff semifinals.
All right. So remember when we were talking about, those people that their series went to game 6 and game 7 and game 5 and how other people swept and have been resting since. It was now a question of rust against fatigue. Now, for the Celtics, I did think, regardless of what it was, because they played a 5 series um, game round 1, and I thought, regardless of what it was, the Celtics will not lose to the New York Knicks. There's no reality when you look at all the matchups. You look at the fact that they are defending champions. You look at how they play from the perimeters, how it's hard to defend against them. Shocker.
Mm.
This Look, I don't want to take anything away from the New York Knicks because the New York Knicks out hustled, outplayed, were so out defended the Celtics. But this came down to the Boston Celtics. Now, if you know the Boston Celtics team, they like to shoot threes. But on the day, I think somebody switched off the threes from their whatever their Arsenal was, and they couldn't shoot it. Here is what the problem was. They shot 25 threes. It was not going in. They didn't stop. They continued trying to shoot the threes. I don't understand. You were trying something. You reached 10. It did not work. You reached 20. It did not work. You reached 25. It did not work. You continue shooting it.
First
What
you
did you
don't
think that?
succeed. First you don't
Try
succeed. Pick yourself up and try again.
and keep trying until you realize that the game is over, and it was not going to work on the game. And that was the one. It was that it was not working for any player. You know, there are some days you say, "Oh, this person is 0 of 10," and maybe the 3 pointers is not working for him. But it was everybody. It was Tatum. It was Brown. Every single person, and they kept trying. That was my biggest issue. So I think that yesterday's practice session was just shooting from beyond the arc. I don't think they did any other practice, but everybody, if you don't hit 10 from beyond the arc, you don't go home. I think that's what the coach must have told them. But yeah, it was it was a shocking loss against the New York Knicks. OKC Thunder against Denver Nuggets. Now, that wasn't really shocking because they had been rested for about a week when the Denver Nuggets were still playing. So game sharpness, game rhythm, all of that was on the Nuggets end, not really on OKC's end. And so this was bound to happen. I saw the rust coming, but it was the way that Nikola Jokic just went off. After the first 2 points in the game, he was like, these people want to try me with their physicality, and the guy let loose. He scored 42 points. But the question is, can he keep scoring 42?
Is that sustainable?
Yes, in a best of 7 series. I mean, they're tired. They played 7 games in the first round. Do they have enough in the tank if it gets down to it to play another 7 games? I think the important thing what they would have to do is to minimize the number of games so that they have enough to even go all the way to the finals. But this is exactly what happened to them last year. I think they burnt out in Game 7 against Timberwolves last year, and so they lost. I don't know that they have enough legs to go all the way to another Game 7. That's the only hope I think OKC have, because they're young, they're dynamic, they may come back. But yes, OKC losing that first game to me against Nuggets were not surprising. The one that was surprising to me was early hours of this morning, where the Timberwolves lost to the Golden State Warriors without Steph Curry.
No curry in the soup.
No curry in the soup, and they lost. Steph Curry picked up a hamstring injury in the second quarter. In fact, the Warriors are worried now that he may not be able to play on Thursday in Game 2.
Oh dear.
But it was the fact that with all the length from Rudy Gobert, from Anthony Edwards, from Julius Randle, they couldn't defend against the Golden State Warriors. Granted, Buddy Hield has found a new level. He finished his game with 24 points. Jimmy Butler is always Jimmy Butler of the playoffs, and Draymond Green was able to keep his cool for the most part. But they lost. They scored only 88 points in this entire game. To start the game, Anthony Edwards was 0 of 9 from the field. How are you the face of the NBA and you are 0 of your first 10 points?
That's
Who
a
are
bad
you?
look. That is a
That's
bad look.
that's a horrible look, and he went into the conference and said everybody should blame him that he played badly. You don't need to tell us. We have already blamed you and you play badly. Tell us what you are going to do differently in Game 2 to help your team. All right. And it makes matters worse. We don't even know if it's a psychological thing. Because remember, he really loved the Golden State Warriors. But when he went for tryouts with them, after playing, Steve Kerr was like, is this the only thing you can do? That's all the noise they've been making about you. This is all you are. That if I had a first round pick, I won't draft you.
Wow.
So I think that thing has always been in the back of his mind, even during the regular season. The Golden State Warriors beat the Timberwolves, I think 3 out of the 4 times they met. And so Maybe it's a psychological issue. Maybe every time he sees Steve Kerr, he remembers what Steve Kerr said to him. We'll find out in game 2.
Yes, indeed, we'll find out in game 2. But man, the Golden State without Curry in the stew, I don't know. I just do not know. Anyways, away from basketball, and let's talk some tennis real quick. We're heading to Italy, where two-time Wimbledon champion Petra Kvitova won her first match since the birth of her first child, then said she had been close to actually quitting tennis. Tega, what's going on?
Yeah, so you know how it is when they come back, they struggle. Even Naomi Osaka said if she kept trying and she didn't break even towards the end of tournaments, she doesn't care about climbing high in the ranking. But if she didn't start going far in tournaments, she was going to quit. Fortunately for us, Patrick convinced her to go to a 125 WTA tournament, and she won that one just last week. So we are thankful that because she won that one, she will have the inspiration. But when you've been a winner, it's a struggle to lose match after match. And that's what happened to Kvitova. After she came back from her childbirth, she will play brilliant tennis, take the opponent all the way to 3 sets, and then lose. And it can be disheartening sometimes. So she was just like, if I keep losing like this, if I keep losing matches like this, that means it's no longer there. I'm going to quit. Instead of losing to every, I can't say Tom, Dick, and Harry for women, but you know what I mean? Every Juliet, Harriet, and Caroline. I can keep losing to that. I'm going to stop. But this week at the Rome Masters, she was able to win. And sometimes you just need that one win to make you, realize that, okay, I'm really not crazy. I still have it in me. I can still finish off the matches. Remember, that's what happened to Serena when she came back. She'd get to finals and just not win.
Yeah,
So
that was such a regular occurrence for her when she came
yes, that
back
was such a regular because and that's what made everybody believe that she'll just come back and play all the way to finals,
and
then
then lose.
lose. So some people is just to play any matches at this point in time. So it's good that she was able to win this. The inspiration, the motivation is back. Let's see how she can go fair in at the Rome Masters. Also at the Rome Masters, Yannick Sinner, and I mean that literally. He's back on the court. So you may see him in action for the 1000 Masters. He's complained that he's been unfairly treated by players, that some players were snubbing him.
Why is he whining and winching?
Exactly. He said some players were snubbing him and all of that drama. But the fans at least have welcomed him rapturously. So let's see how it works out for Yannick Sinner this week at the Rome Masters.
Looking forward to the fireworks there. And whether or not he'll get on with the tennis or keep on whining about what is not really important. Anyways, let's take our first break of the morning. And it's very well needed because we need all the energy to get into what went down at the San Siro last night.
Yes.
Inter did the job and got past Barcelona to get into the Champions League final. All that and a bag of chips on the other side of this break right here on Smooth 98.1. Ah, man, I don't know what they put in the water for Barcelona and Inter, but those two games, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there was Curry. I can't explain. Yeah, muted Tega in case you did not know.
Muted on purpose, my darling. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but yeah, Barcelona. I felt bad for them yesterday, but I didn't feel bad in the sense that the minute I saw Araujo coming on, in fact, I heard, before he came on, I heard the commentators say Araujo is coming on. Let's see who they are going to switch him for. Oh, then the commentator said something about Eric Garcia was limping. I was like, oh, it makes sense. Then I saw that it was Inigo Martinez that was going off. What is wrong with you? Why are you taking off Inigo Martinez? Are you smoking something? Except he's in a coma.
Because you want to kill somebody? You want to keep person picking?
Exactly. The problem with Inigo Martinez, yes, he was on a yellow card, but Inigo Martinez can marshal the game. Araujo is a calamity waiting to happen. Can you imagine this Dundee United? He was the one that allowed the third goal to be scored. And then he went to the media and was saying that it was because, what was his name? Gerard Martin wasn't there. That's why they considered the third goal. I'm like, Oga, are you smoking something cheap? No, I didn't say, are you? I said, Oga, you are smoking something cheap. No, you have to be. We are back. Oh, yeah, let's come back.
Whenever I say that you need to be on YouTube whenever we're in the locker room, I know exactly what I'm talking about because the behind the scenes conversations that we have, oh my goodness. That's why I'm cracking up right now. You're welcome to the locker room this Wednesday morning on the Smooth Breakfast right here on Smooth 98.1. Your love music, love life, and the love sports station. My name is Ayokunmi. Great to have you. Tega also with me this morning, taking a look at what's been going on the sporting scene. And you, yes, you need to join us this morning. Share your thoughts and everything in between. WhatsApp number is 0809-444-0981. Studio line is 0201-448-9981. And YouTube that I alluded to, it's Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Those are the ways that we need you to join us this morning. All right, Tega, let's jump into the big one from last night. Heavyweight clash. And yeah, Davidis Frattesi fired Inter Milan into the Champions League final on Tuesday with an extra time winner, which gave the Italians a stunning 4-3 triumph over Barcelona and 7-6 on aggregate. Man.
This was a very painful one. Both teams were poor defensively. The difference between Inter Milan's Inter Milan's inadequacy and Barcelona's inadequacy was that Jan Sommer, number one, stood up to be counted, but also importantly, as much as the Barcelona players found spaces in between Inter Milan, they really start deep so that they made it hard. Unlike the Barcelona that is a little bit porous, they play the high line, they're always pushing up. So if you catch them on the counter, they are usually light defensively. All right. I think this game did need to go to extra time because from the minute Barcelona came back in the second half and they turned this match around, first of all, it was that chance that fell to Yamal. Remember the chance of to him that he kicked it off the post. If he had scored that, it would be 4-2. It'd be hard to see Inter Milan win.
Yeah.
But they didn't score that chance. The ball goes to the other end almost immediately. And here is where I had a problem with Hansi Flick. Because I know Inigo Martinez had a yellow card, but for the life of me, I still do not understand why he took off Inigo Martinez for Araujo. Araujo that you wanted to sell in January for a reason. It's like you know your ex is a terrible person, but you are single now. So you just decided to go back to him. That's what Hansi Flick did.
Or her.
Or her. Depend the hair. Or her. Because think about it. Araujo is the most error-prone. In fact, he doesn't know how to defend for his life. And so the ball comes into the 18-yard box. Araujo is on the wrong side of the striker. And he's hugging the guy like he's the guy's winter jacket, as opposed to blocking the guy from getting the goal. And then the guy scores in the last minute. To make matters worse, Araujo is blaming that third goal. That goal on Gerard Martin. Barcelona considered that goal in injury time of the game. If you remember, it was 90 minutes on the clock,
At
1
death,
minute.
More or less.
Yes, 1 minute and 23 seconds. That's when they considered that goal. They were that close to making it to the semi-final. Then the ball still went back to Lamine. To the final, sorry. That ball went back to Lamine Yamal on the other end. And again, Lamine Yamal decided to toe poke the ball instead of taking a shot. And then someone was just like, thank you very much, and caught it. So I would say Yamal played a brilliant game, but there were moments that his age showed when he went for beauty instead of efficiency. Because I don't see any reason why you've beaten the defender and you are toe poking the ball. Take a shot, score the goal, and then go and dance to skills on the side. Match over in regulation time. But they extended it to extra time. However, I'm surprised that Inter Milan were able to play onto extra time because their legs were really gone by that time. But what they did, they all sat behind the ball. Especially after Frattesi scored, they just sat behind the ball and made it twice as hard for Barcelona to break down. So ultimately, Barcelona lost this match. Not because their young guys didn't play well, but because their older guys like Lewandowski, who missed those two headers in extra time, and Araujo were caught off guard. Sad one for them. The thing I think with Barcelona is that they've played so well and so hard that they may be too heartbroken to be able to beat Real Madrid at the weekend.
Well, it's one of two things. They'll be too heartbroken or they will be fired up after this. So you guys want to come
They are
and
young boys.
laugh at me. Okay.
They are young boys. See, this kind of thing, it can dent your spirit. Before you recover, 2 games have passed.
Well, the plus for them is they seem to have Madrid's number this season, so that could play to their advantage. Maybe, just maybe. Anyways, let's leave a humdinger of a double-legged tie, probably the best 2 games of this year's Champions League. Let's talk about the other semi-final that's supposed to come up this evening. And Declan Rice has been talking now. He has insisted, that the Gunners are confident they can deliver something special by overturning a 1-0 first leg deficit when they face PSG in the French capital in the return leg of their Champions League semi-final tie.
Yeah, he was confident, but he also said they need big moments and magic performances. So I don't know that is quantifiable. but what is quantifiable is that Paris Saint-Germain is 1 goal up. Ousmane Dembele is somehow miraculously fit for this tie, just the same way Lautaro Martinez was fit yesterday.
I was about to say that.
Just the same way Lautaro Martinez was fit yesterday. Ousmane Dembele is miraculously fit for this tie. Not only is he fit for this tie, but an important but, they play in Paris. So it's going to be tough. I know those Paris people. By the time the flares come up, where you will not even be seeing human beings, you'll just be seeing colors in the stand. The noise will be so loud. I don't know, again, because I've always said my problem with Arsenal is that they don't seem to have the mental fortitude or the character in big moments. That's why they haven't won. And that's what it may come down to tonight. Of course, Arsenal, again, you have to look at Arsenal's defense. Arsenal cannot go there and win 1-0 because their defense always gives away something. And it's not, you can't only blame Kivio. Sometimes Saliba is the culprit. Sometimes Raya is the culprit. Sometimes Luis Kelly, who everybody raves about and should rave about, is also the culprit. So Arsenal's defense, they give away goals. I think what they need to go out to do is that from the blast of the whistle, they should just score as many opportunities as they can, which is, again, another problem with Arsenal. Because even with Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz, they already needed to buy a more clinical striker. Without those two, it's been a tough one. So if I were Mikel Arteta today, Trossard is not seeing starting lineup. He will sit on the bench. Yes, let Merino be up front. Let Trossard sit on the bench for a while. Let Merino be up front, and then he can bring in Trossard as super sub, and let Merino hustle for the ball. Because for me, I don't think Trossard has the physicality to put his presence in and about the box. And so when he starts, sometimes Arsenal's attack are a bit flat. So, but let's see what they choose on the day. But I think it's a journey too far for Arsenal. They can stun me if they want, but I think it's a journey too far for them. So I'm looking at the finals to be Inter against PSG. Let's take your thoughts.
Will Arsenal be able to pull off the remontada, or will it be Ramon Atonda? We'll find out later on tonight. All right, still talking about Arsenal. Well, a former Arsenal manager in the person of Arsene Wenger says that it is not right that the Europa League winners qualify for the Champions League. Now, of course, Man United and Tottenham are vying for a position in the final of the Europa League, with both sides holding aggregate advantages heading into the semi-final second legs. And importantly, they both sit very low on the Premier League table, 15th and 16th. And Wenger
Yeah,
has been talking.
yeah, but this is usually Wenger. You know that he likes to be a purist. Remember when he wanted to do that offside thing? I was like, Oga, don't try that offside. So it can be tough. I think what he really means is that, you win the Europa and then suddenly you're in the Champions League. As in his time, it didn't used to happen. Um, but also he believes that if you play a certain number of games that qualify you to be Champions League, as opposed to if you win a lower ranked tournament, then you get to the Champions League. I think that was done to sweeten the deal. If not, teams were just beginning to say, why should I be playing in Europa or Europe? In fact, even now, Europa Conference League, people don't want to play. They don't want to send out their best teams. And so I think they put that to sweeten the deal. So I understand what he's trying to say, but it doesn't help that the two teams vying for the Europa final are Tottenham, who are perennial Arsenal rivals, and Manchester United, who beat him one time too many. It doesn't help. Everybody will all suddenly say it's a bias. But Arsene Wenger is a purist, and these are the kind of things he comes up with. I totally understand what it means. If you look at where Manchester United and Tottenham are on the table, why are they that lowly placed on the table and playing the Champions League? It seems unfair to the likes of Nottingham Forest, who may not make it, and Aston Villa, who may not make it, and Newcastle or whoever amongst those people may not make the top five to go to the Champions League. For somebody ranked 13th and 15th to come and play in the Champions League. But the law is the law. If you win Europa, you go to the Champions League. There's not much we can do about it.
Mm. Simple as. And in any case, this rule has been in effect since 2014. So make of that what it is that you will. All right, let's switch gears quickly. Let's see if we can touch on these before we take your messages. Let's talk about Man United in question. Now, their manager, Ruben Amorim, has warned his players that they have a big responsibility to salvage a dismal season by winning the Europa League.
Yeah, I like the way he's putting his team under pressure, because if he wins that Europa League, people forget where he's placed on the table. Like I said, they will automatically qualify for Champions League. So Manchester United fans, investors, players that they want to attract will see them in Champions League. And because he's rebuilding a new team by next season, it places Manchester United in a better position.
Mm.
And so I completely understand why he wants that. But also imperatively, you have a 3-0 lead. I don't see why you should lose from 3-0 up. Certainly not against the Athletic Club. And I don't think that the Athletic Club can come back. Already they have injuries they're struggling with. Then they have that porous defense. And then they play one particular style of football. They don't adjust to the opposition that they are playing against. I don't see them coming back. So I see Manchester United in the final, and I think Manchester United can beat Tottenham. In fact, I think any team can beat Tottenham, but Manchester United especially. So yes, he just wants to salvage the season, not just for his job, not just for his bragging rights, but more importantly, for what they can do if they win Europa, the transfers that they can make happen. And do you understand the players
Yeah,
they can attract
exactly.
from having a spot in the Champions League next season?
Mm. All right. Okay. Now we need to rush through your messages. A number of them have actually come in. Let me start with AY from Oniru, who says treble dreams are over, but a domestic double is still very much possible and within reach. Visa Basa, we move. All right, keep it moving. Nathan Unjoku in Kirikiri Town says, at the end of the day, the experience showed he sweets me die. World peace at last. I want Inter to win the UCL so Lautaro Martinez can win the Ballon d'Or. Not that thing they gave that pretender Vini Jr. I don't see Lautaro in the run for this one. But anyway,
Yes, I
hope
don't
PSG.
see him in the run for this one. And
Mm.
yesterday, I was not very happy with him. He almost rolled all the way to Argentina. I was just like, you people have come again. And as soon as they gave the penalty, he was miraculously healed.
He then says, hope PSG can continue the world peace tonight. If not, we no go hear word. I agree with you on that one, Nathan. We fully. Dakwa says, the Golden State Warriors defense is elite. They threw Atman off his game at the beginning, Steph's loss is a big blow for the Warriors, but if playoff Jimmy and the rest of the guys can somehow manage to win 2 of the next 4 games, which by the way is 2 home and 2 away, and have Steph back by game 6 in Golden State, I still like their chances. Thank you, Darkball, for keeping it tuned. Mayowa says yesterday was the best UCL semi-final tie in the history of the Champions League. Both teams couldn't defend to save themselves. Barca showed more naivety than Inter. And Biggie Nketu says yesterday's match was supposed to be the Champions League final category. The real clash of the Titans, great strikers but poor defenders on both teams. All right, let me go to YouTube. Uche Nwoko says Inter versus Barca, the greatest semi-final in UCL history. Summer man of the match. Old men of Inter showed street smartness. Barca will grow and go places. Ayafeda says, football is mad. Go. Well, I have to translate that. It gives you joy 1 minute and then snatches that joy away from you the next minute. And Patrick Payo says, a part of me will like nothing more than to see Arsenal win this year's Champions League, but that will not be good for banter. So tonight, we PSG. Oh, no, Tayo. Sorry, Tayo said this same. Let me take it. Barcelona must be the first club to do remontada, aka Ramon Dakbata. My timeline is so quiet, but I'm dancing like Yamin Lamal. Nothing do my shoulder pad way high. And I hate watch Fulham.
I don't like you, fool. All of you, I hate watching a 17-year-old boy. And on that note, we want to say thank you for sending in your messages. Thank you for tuning in to Smooth 98.1 FM to listen to the locker room. And this week, we are Arsenal fans. Better have your chaplain soaked in water so that because you are next. You see the way they are cooking Barcelona is nothing compared to the way they will cook you if your team does not come back. All right. On that note, have a great week and be productive.
All right. Thank you so much, Tega, for coming through as you always do. And thank you all for joining us and sending your messages in. Always a pleasure having you in the locker room. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have a conversation at 9 o'clock on Lagos Talks. We're talking about dyslexia this morning. Yes, not a word you hear all the time, but we need to bring it to the fore. And I have a great guest coming to talk all about it. Don't go anywhere. Keep it tuned.